So, good morning. And the first thing that I want to do is thank you for coming to this workshop, where I will explain you how you can monetize your APIs or datasets or make them available as open data. Okay? So,
Can you speak to the microphone?
what?
Can you speak to the microphone?
Okay. That's it. Okay, sorry. So, first of all, I want to introduce myself. I am Aitor Magán, and you can contact me using the methods that are represented in this slide. I am researcher at UPM, and I am working in the apps and data delivery work package of FIWARE. So here we have the agenda for the today workshop. So the first thing that we are going to do is just explain what open data is. I don't know if all of you know what is this concept, but I will try to explain you. Then I will elaborate myself on CKAN, and we'll review all the options that are available for providers and for clients. And then we had a hands-on section, but in this case had been replaced by a lab where you will have to do my job. Okay. So let's start. So open data, as can be seen in this slide, is just a piece of information that can be used, redistributed, and reuse and redistribute for free. And these have a lot of advantages, since we can we can use this information for free, and we don't have to pay for it. Okay, and there is a lot of sources of open data. For example, government, institutions. Okay, and we can do a lot of things with open data. For example, we can create our own applications, or we can also create new data, merging the open data with our own data. Okay, but we have to consider that open data is not all advantages. We also have disadvantages. For example, there is a lot of open data that is not very well, has a lack of quality, or is not well documented. And this is, we have to go to premium data sets, okay? That is data that require us to pay for using it, okay? And also we have to consider that there is some cases that where open data is not available. For example, there is, I don't know, some conditions, for example, security or just conflict of interest, where we cannot have open data, and we have to go to premium data. Okay, so FIWARE knows about the importance of open data and want to take advantage of it. Okay, so for this reason, the last week, Telefónica, Atos, and Orange announced an agreement to work about in smart cities using the FIWARE technology. Okay, so, and that's it. So, and in FIWARE, we have 3 types of open data, and all these types are accessible through open APIs. First of all, we have dataset. That is the one that are provided by CKAN generally, okay? And in this type of open data, of data, sorry, we have geographical information, census information, or even historical information, okay? In this speech, I will try you to explain how you can access this data using CKAN, okay? Then we have real-time information. That is the information that comes from IoT system and that can be accessed using the context broker that I suppose you know how to use because you have received some talks about it, okay? And then we have media information. That is the one that, for example, that can be received using Currento or technologies of media streaming that is going to be explained during this morning, okay? So let's start with CKAN, okay? CKAN is one of the most important open data platforms all over the world, okay? It's used in a lot of environments, and a lot of smart cities are using it to publish their data. It's written in Python and use PostgreSQL just to store the information. And one of the most valuable characteristics of this software is the is something that they call extensions that allows developers to modify the behavior of the system in a very different ways. Okay. So for developers, for clients, we can search and discover data using different ways. For example, we can use keywords, you can use facets, or we can also use a REST JSON API to discover all the data that is published in a CKAN instance. And for the publishers, we have the process of publishing data is very easy. Okay, you have to consider that the original CKAN doesn't allow private dataset. All the information that you publish in CKAN must to be open, but you don't have to worry because we have developed some extensions that change this behavior. And you can also, in the FIWARE Lab instance, you will be able to publish private datasets, private datasets. Okay. So the FIWARE Lab instance. First of all, I want to remark that it's integrated with the FIWARE IGM. Okay. So you don't need different accounts to access the FIWARE and just the Open Data Portal. You need only one. And just to respect the open data philosophy, you can browse all the data that is published in this instance without logging, with the exception of the data that is private, that you must be registered just to access. Then, as I said before, we have the ability to create private datasets. Okay, that is just when you are creating a dataset, you have field, and you can choose if you want your dataset to be public or private. And then we have the ability to publish the datasets in the store. I don't know if you have heard about the store, but it's just a generic enabler that allows you to sell and to acquire some different assets. Okay, and we have integrated the CKAN with the store just for three reasons. Because first of all, in the integration with the FIWARE with the store, the CKAN with the store allow us to manage the user that can access a dataset automatically. Okay, so we don't have to worry about who can and who cannot access a dataset. If we publish a dataset in the store, once that the user acquires the dataset, he will be able to access the dataset automatically, and this is something very valuable. Okay. Then we can also charge the user for using our data. This is up to us. You don't need to charge every time, but if you want, you can do it. And then you can also force the users to accept some legal terms for accessing your data. Okay? And this is something that is not in the original CKAN. This is something that we have achieved by using extensions of CKAN, and we have developed. Okay? And here is a brief schema of how this integration works. Okay, we have CKAN in the middle of the picture, and then we have the identity manager that is that I suppose that it has been explained in other speeches. Okay, and we use it to authenticate users. Okay, then CKAN with extension publish offerings in the store that contains the dataset, and the store is in charge of notifying CKAN every time a user acquires a dataset, just to inform CKAN that this user can access this dataset. Okay, and then the rest of generic enablers and application can access the CKAN portal just to retrieve the data. Okay. So from the provider side, how a provider can upload their own data? There are two different ways. Okay. The first of all is harvesting. I know this word is strange, but it means just retrieving the data from other sites. For example, from other CKAN instance, from the web, from Socrata, that is another open data platform. Okay, and then we can use the web interface or just the APIs just to publish the data by clicking or just by pushing a file in the CKAN portal. Okay, so when we publish a dataset, we can manage the publication process, and we can select just the visibility that is public or private. So public datasets can be viewed by all the people, and private datasets can be only viewed by allowed users. Okay, the last field is allowed user, and it's like the list of users that can access our dataset. Okay, so you can enter manually the users that can access your dataset, or you can let it to the store. It's up to you. Okay, and then we have the searchable field that allow us to choose if we want the dataset to be published every time a user looks for dataset in the CKAN instance. Okay, so once that the dataset has been published in CKAN, we have to publish it in the. You can publish it in the store. Why? Because the store is one of the I don't know how to say it. It's one of the showcase of FIWARE Labs. So you will advertise your dataset for free, and you will make it visible to prospective users for free. Okay, and as I said before, you will be able to manage who can access your data without worrying about it. Just because when a user acquires the dataset, there will be a communication between CKAN and the store, and the store will notify CKAN that this user can view this dataset. So you don't have to worry about the authorization process, because it's just up to the store. And then, as I said before, you can force the users to accept some legal terms. Just imagine, for example, that, I don't know, you want your data to be free, but you don't want it to be used for commercial purposes. Okay, so you can force the users to accept this term just to use your data. Okay, and then you can charge the user for accessing your data. You can choose between different models, a single payment. Okay, yes, you pay and you can access. A subscription, you have to pay every month, every week, every day, just to access, or pay-per-use, where you pay for every megabytes or for the number of access that you make to the data. Okay, so as you can see in this slide, publishing your data set in the store is a very easy process. You have to complete just some fields in this form that is available in the CKAN instance, and your dataset will be published automatically in the store. So it's very easy. But you have to consider that raw data cannot be very interesting for final users. I don't know, getting a CSV for me can be very interesting, but just for my brother that doesn't know anything about computer, maybe he doesn't know something about it. So what we can do is just to add extra value to the data. And how can we do that? Okay, we can add to the data elements to visualize it. Okay, and we are going to take advantage of the data visualization capabilities of WhiteCloud to do that. I suppose that you don't know what is WhiteCloud because it hasn't been explained yet, but it's going to be explained during this morning, so you don't have to worry. At the end of the day, you will know what is WhiteCloud and how you can use it to visualize the data. Okay, but as a brief summary, WhiteCloud is just a mass app composition, a mass app platform where you can compose you can create different dashboards just to visualize data, or just for everything that you can imagine in a very easy way. Okay, so for example, here we have a list or just a schema of all the things that we can use with WhiteCloud, and this is just an example. We can visualize the data using graphs, or we can visualize the data in tables, or we can visualize the data in maps. and that's just the beginning. Your imagination is the limit. So you can create a widget to visualize the data in a very different way. You can create a widget to visualize the data with pies. It's just about you. So, and you have to consider that these widgets are made for you. So to visualize the data is very easy because you only have to connect some things in the MassApp platform, and you will get a representation of the data in a very easy way. And that's the valuable thing. So we are increasing the value of our data because we are adding in extra value. Okay. So I want you to imagine that we are in an election year like this, and for example, we have the election results. Okay, and we want to offer this data to newspapers. So if we create a MassApp where the data where the data is represented, okay, the newspaper can include this MassApp in their web page, okay, and they can reduce drastically the amount of the development process that they have to do just to represent the election result. Okay, and we also, as providers of the data, can win more money because we are selling the data to the newspaper, and we can charge them for the use that they do of the data set. Okay, so doing that, publishing the data set, this type of offerings that contains both the data set and the MassApp is more difficult than publishing just the data, but it's not very complex. And as can be seen, just when we are creating the offering in the store, we have just to select the data set and also the MassApp. Okay, this is something that we are going to do in the labs. I don't know if some of you are attending this, but this is one of the exercises that you are going to do in the lab. So if you want to know how to do it, you can do it. Okay. So now we are going to the client side, or just to the consumer of the data. So first of all, how can users discover the data that is published in a CKAN instance? So they can search by facets, text, tags, or in the portal, or they can go to they can also use the REST API to access all the data that is published in a programmatic way. In addition, they can go also to the store, where they won't be able to find the data, but also the data and the visualization methods that can be used to visualize the data that is included in this offering. Okay, as can be seen, there are some data sets that has a label that is called private. Okay, private. So when you see this label, it means that you cannot access the dataset because the provider has chosen just to make it private. Okay. So if you want to access this data, you have to click in the dataset, and you will get an error message and a link where you will that redirects you to the store. In the store, you will see all the offerings that contains this dataset, and you can acquire it. For example, it can be an offering just with the data, and another offering with the data and with the MassApp to visualize the data. Okay, so the thing that we have to do is just to acquire it, accept the terms, include our direction, and once that the acquisition process is complete, we will be able to access the data. Okay, just in this step, we are inside the data set, and we have been able to access it. Okay. Yeah.
What's the purpose of this redirection? So the data is private, but then I can go to the market and get the data. So
yeah. So if you pay, you can access. Or if you accept the terms, it depends. So the meaning of this redirection is just to complete an acquisition process. In this acquisition process, you can be required to accept the terms, or just to pay to access the data, or just to give your credit card just to, I don't know, to be charged every time you use the data. Okay. In this case, the data set is free, but you have to accept the legal terms just to access the data.
But if I publish the data as public, then there will be
no redirection. So you can access it directly. Just because we want to preserve the open data philosophy of CKAN. Yes, we have add just the option just for you for publishing private data set, but this is optional. You can publish open data, and CKAN will work as it works in other instance. Okay. Okay. So, yeah.
What stops? Is it possible for someone to take a public data set and start trying to sell it or something, or make mashups on public data set and sell that as a product? Is there anything stopping them? If someone
No, there is nothing stopping them.
Like you had when creating a data set, you had the option to import from existing data set. Will those be shown on the product that this data set took from these particular sources? Or is it
Yeah, you don't have no restriction for doing that. For me, I don't know.
I'm just wondering if someone publishes a data set that's free to use, can someone, if
you can.
someone try and start selling it if they import it into their thing and mark it as private, or start?
Yeah, you can do it at this
No,
moment.
is it possible for someone, if someone
Yeah.
wanted to take your freely open data set and try and
To sell it, yeah.
as a private?
Yeah.
Is there anything stopping them?
No, there's nothing stopping them for doing that.
Okay.
But this is something that can occur in just every place. You can download something and try to sell it. So.
No, I'm just asking what stops. Is there anything stopping, like if you make a publicly available data set that people try to?
No, we don't have this type of controls. Okay. I don't know if there is a question at the end. Okay. So once that the data set is public, okay. No, sorry. Just the APIs, okay, of CKAN. If you are a developer, the most valuable thing of CKAN is just to access the data using the programmatic API, not the web interface. Okay, so you can full query and search through the JSON API, but CKAN has a disadvantage with this, because when you look for a data set, or when you want to retrieve the data from a data set, you will only receive the metadata. This means just the tags, if it's public or private, the author, but you won't retrieve the data itself. Only the metadata that is around the data. Okay? But they have developed something that they call a data pusher and data store. So every time you upload a CSV file, this CSV is processed, and it's inserted in a PostgreSQL table, and you can access the data in a programmatic way. Okay, and you can modify the data. You can perform queries just to filter the data. Okay, and this is something also that is very valuable, because you can show the user just the information that he wants. Okay, and just to speak about the API key. So just imagine that you have published a private data set, so only registered user will be able to access this data set. So for doing that, for accessing this data set, you have to include one of these tokens. The first one is the one of FIWARE that you will receive when you use the IGM, and the last one, the authorization token, is the one that is used that you can view when you enter in your profile in CKAN. Okay, and this is the standard one, while the XOUT token is just is in the integration between FIWARE and CKAN. Okay, so here we have an example of what I was saying before. This is just the metadata of a dataset. Okay, just it only represents the metadata, just the author, the license, the version, the URL where you can download the CSV, but not the CSV itself or the CSV processes, or I don't know. It's just metadata. Okay, but you can also access the data itself if you have the data store enabled. It's just another extension. So you have to enable it to have this type of APIs, okay? And in this, we have three different types of access to data. The first one is just by performing SQL queries against an URL, okay? In this is very complex because you have to create a SQL query every time you want to access a dataset, but it's very flexible since you can merge different data sets. Okay. Then we have another API that allows us to access the data, but we have to include it just is more easier because it's just more REST. Okay, so you have to include the resource ID in just a get field, yes, and just you can filter and do it in a very easy way. Okay, it's more easy, but it's not as flexible as the previous one because you cannot merge different resources. Okay.
The resource ID is I can get it in the previous row or
the results.
The resource ID.
Yeah, the resource ID is just when you publish a data. Sorry, yeah, this is my fault. When you publish a data set in CKAN, you can add more resources. Okay, a data set is composed for one or more resources. Okay, so when you publish a resource, you will get the ID of this resource. Okay, a resource is just a file, a CSV, or whatever you want. But if you want this type of API, you have to upload a CSV file.
But if I'm a developer, how I can know the resource
If you know the ID of your dataset, the one that you have published, you can use the API just to retrieve all these identifiers. So you will get it, and it's just you have to know the dataset ID. So and when you publish, you have to specify it. So it's just up to you to do it. Okay. Okay. So and just to end this session, I want to remark that if you want to visualize the dataset that you have published as a client, for example, imagine that I have published the provider has published a mashup to visualize the data. How can I as a client, visualize the data in a mashup? Okay, so it's a very easy process. You have to go to the mashup platform, go to the marketplace, look for the mashup that the provider has published, and click on the install button, and that's all. Then you have to create a workspace. You will learn it how to use it in the next session, but it's easy. So it's just 3 steps to visualize the data, and also maybe the provider can give you an URL to visualize it, so you don't have to worry about it because it's a very easy process, and you will learn how to do it in the lab session. So if you want to do it, you can come. And then, for example, this is just a representation of the data it's just a representation of the data in the mashup platform. We have a table and we have a graph to represent the data that we have published. Okay, and if the data changes in CKAN, the changes are reflected in this web. Okay, so that's all. The hands-on have been replaced by the lab. So in the lab, you are going to learn how to publish data, how you can manage the access to it, and also you will be able to learn how to create your own data market. Okay, so if you want to learn about it, you have to go to the lab. That I don't know where is it, but okay. So that's all. I don't know if some of you have questions about this, or you want to finish because you are tired of hearing me. So, up to you.
How technical do you expect developers to find?
Can you speak louder, please?
Sorry, how technical do you expect developers to be in order to consume the data? Do they need
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay, so is this better? So do clients need to use APIs to consume the data, or can they be
No, just
non-technical?
if you are developer. If you are if you are a normal user, you don't have to use the APIs.
Okay.
You can use the web interface.
Can you give me an example of a customer? Like, is it like city officials, or who would consume the data?
I can give you examples of providers. For example, in the FIWARE lab, we have a lot of providers: Sevilla, Barcelona,
Okay.
that are providing data. Santander that is providing data in real time using the context broker.
And the clients are the citizens?
A lot of
or?
cities from Italy are also publishing data in the FIWARE lab instance of CKAN.
Okay, but what about the clients? Who are they? Are they citizens of the cities, or?
Yeah, other citizens, whatever you want. For example, I personally am working on an application that can retrieve the data from open data portals and just to inform, for example, about road traffic issues. Mm-hmm. So depends on your localization. It sends you a notification if you are near to a road traffic accident or something like that. So we are using open data platforms for retrieving this data.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. That's it? Okay, thank you.